Salutations everyone. In this video I want to properly introduce a series that I kinda already started a year ago. The series is called Unknown Cameras, or at least that's what I'm thinking about calling it for now. In this series I'll be focusing on weird, unheard of cameras, hence unknown cameras. Run a roll of film through them and basically see how they work, see how they fail, see how they, how annoying they are. And like I mentioned, I actually started doing this a year ago at the start of my YouTube channel. If you go back to my first video that I ever uploaded on this channel, you'll see that it's a video of me shooting a very strange camera called Flexeret 2. Have you heard of it? Yeah, neither have I. Which is probably why I made a video on it, because I saw that nobody else made a video on it, so I thought maybe this video would blow up, an unknown camera that nobody's ever heard of. Yeah, it didn't exactly blow up, but I did have a lot of fun making that video and just really seeing the results that I got from a very weird camera. Unfortunately, I kind of sold that camera, but that's neither here nor there. I did kind of continue this series with other weird unknown cameras. And as you can see, I've actually filmed a lot of these videos and I never really thought to name it into a proper series, but now I'm doing that. So in this video, we're going to be shooting the Voigtlander Prominent. This is probably a camera you've never heard of. It is a 35mm rangefinder camera that I got off of Craigslist about a year ago for $100. $100 for a Voigtlander camera is a really good price, and it's even better when it's in mint condition, just like this one. This camera is really good. It comes with a 50mm f2 lens. It also came with a 105mm f4.5 lens that is really great on this camera. The shutter speeds range from bulb to 0.05 of a second. An interesting thing about this camera is that you don't focus on the lens like you usually do. The focus is actually up here on the camera, which does take a little bit of getting used to, focusing like this as opposed to this. Now, I've already shot a few rolls of film through this camera, but I'm gonna go ahead and load some more film in it and show you what this thing can do. Now, here's an unnecessary montage of me loading film into this camera. So before we load the film into this camera, I do want to go over on how this camera works. So you'll find the aperture ring on the lens, which ranges from f2 to f16. The shutter speed dial will be found in front of the camera as opposed to the top of the camera, and the shutter speed ranges from bulb all the way to 1/500th of a second. Like I previously mentioned, the focusing knob will be on top of the camera here. So the minimum focusing distance is 3.5 feet, and it goes all the way to 60 feet, then to infinity. Rewind the film, you need to press this button right here. To unlock the rewind knob, you need to push this tab over, and that pretty much unlocks it. Cold shoe on top, shutter release button right here, and right under the shutter release you'll find the cable release inserts. So this camera doesn't have a winding lever. You actually have to rotate this knob in order to advance your film. And then of course this is your viewfinder, which is a little bit too small for my taste, but it gets the job done. And speaking of viewfinders, I have this Voigtlander Prominent that goes right on top of the camera, just like that. Now I can alternate between my 100mm lens and my 35mm lens, if I had one. You can also adjust your frame lines according to your focus distance. Just remember that you only compose with the Turnet and you focus with the camera's viewfinder. The rangefinder focusing patch is also pretty bright for this camera, which really makes it easy to focus. Now my camera actually came with this obnoxious lens hood, which you basically just rotate on. Now once it's properly on the camera, you can still rotate the lens hood however you want, which is kind of convenient but annoying. As you can see here with the lens hood, the camera looks interesting in my opinion, but also very bulky. Without the lens hood, this camera is a lot more compact, but with this thing, yeah, no. Now to open the back of the camera, you pretty much press these two buttons on the side, and that pretty much opens it up. I'm gonna go ahead and load some Kodak Gold 200 into this camera. So now that we loaded film into this camera, I'm now gonna transfer you over to me in the Gulf Coast of Florida, doing absolutely nothing. If you're wondering as to why I'm wearing a camo hat, it's because I got severely sunburned out on the beach and now I'm trying to hide from the sun. So after the sun forced me to evacuate the beach, I then switched back to my 50mm lens and drove to a much less deadlier place. Alright, so I'm no longer out in the beach. I'm currently in the swamps, as you can probably see. Now, after I got bored at being at the swamps, I decided to go home and take pictures of my backyard. The reason as to why I was taking photos in my backyard is because I wanted to do some bokeh tests. So what I basically did is I opened up the camera wide open at f2 and I set it to the minimum focusing distance, which was 3.5 feet. I decided to focus on this flower thing in order to see how blurred the background will be. I also decided to do the same test with my mailbox. And it's in this photo where you really see the amount of bokeh that this lens reproduces. So for my last shot, I also decided to test out this bokeh thing on myself. So I took a selfie. It was all in the name of testing out the background separation. No narcissistic reasons whatsoever. I mean, who do you think I am? In all seriousness, I did shoot this wide open and I think I focused to around 5 or 6 feet. And there was still a pretty good amount of background separation, so this lens is pretty good. Now, this wasn't the first time I shot this camera. I've actually shot this camera twice before already. I shot a roll of Fuji Superior through this camera down in the Florida Keys. Here's some of those photos. And then here's the first roll of film that I ever shot through this camera. So yeah, that's pretty much it. I actually really did enjoy using this camera. I mean, it is a Voigtlander, so it was pretty nice. So yeah, these are the kind of things you can expect from these unknown cameras videos. Multiple locations, several different genres of photography. I know in this video there wasn't a lot of variation in terms of genres, but I do plan on changing that in the future. If you got any more unknown cameras that you think deserve more recognition, definitely do suggest them down below in the comments. I decided to do this series to give my channel a little bit of more direction. I'm still gonna do all the other stuff that I usually do, you know, the street photography, the weird film stocks, the random nonsense that I usually do. But I think you can expect a more consistent flow of videos with this series, and that's really something I look forward to because I did have a lot of fun shooting this video. And it also takes me back when I first started doing these videos because, like I said earlier, I did start doing these unknown cameras videos from the beginning, even though I didn't call it that at first, but now I am, and I'm gonna continue it because why not? So yeah, with all that being said, till next time.